Hello. Welcome to Warrior Commission Now, where we talk about practical ways to live your commission now as you grow in your relationship with God. And that's day to day, moment by moment, week by week. I'm Christine Caston.
And I'm Sharon Rudolph. And Christine and I have spent the last several years having conversations about what God is up to in the world around us and in our own lives and how he makes an impact. And so we're just bringing those to you guys. So get comfortable and come join our conversation. Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time just talking about worship. It's a really broad topic. And for each of us, our worship is unique, and our worship at times has carried us through the storms.
Yeah.
So I know for me that when the external seems noisy, confusing, lots of wind blowing, that sort of stuff, worship is a great place to center. So we talked about being brides with swords in another talk, and that intimacy piece that comes. And oftentimes when the storm's blowing, getting into that intimacy piece feels hard. But the worship shifts atmospheres and makes things possible. And yet worship can, like I said, be different for different people. For me, I have certain groups, certain songs, but going outside and walking has become worship for me in this season, especially when we're supposed to be confined.
Yes.
Being outside.
Nature's nice.
Yes, in nature is a way of worship. So, Christine, how's worship helped you in the midst of storms?
That's a great question. I mean, we think about, obviously, like you said, the worship songs, worship music can just speak to your heart. A book, a poem, obviously scripture can speak to your heart. But sometimes the storms are so intense that that all you can really do is be in that place of standing. And just to stand may take everything you have. But that is an act of worship. To say, God, this is who you say I am. This is what you've spoken over me. And even though in the midst of this storm, there is nothing that looks like what you said.
Right.
And, and I know I'm growing in that, but you stand in that place and you just see your faith rise. And the thing is that in those places where we worship him, out of the depths of our heart, out of the depths of our soul, out of the only place we can learn to be in that storm. What he does is he either takes us to the center of the storm, like the eye of the storm where it's calm, or he can take us above the storm, and he can show us how not to be in it anymore, or not to be affected by it anymore, maybe would be a better way. And he can also say, I want you to go through this storm. And that's an act of worship as well, because you stay in that place where the winds are strong, but in the process, you develop the strength to stand in the winds. And that worship, as we're pouring out our heart in him, it's not just about, I'm showing you how much I love you, God, because that's what we make worship. We make it, I'm showing you how much I love you, God, see how much I love you. But a true act of worship is really a heart position and a heart attitude of everything I am is yours. Everything I have is yours. I just lay it down and I just love you. What about you, Sharon? How have you learned worship in the storm?
I love what you just said about laying everything down.
Yeah.
Because that's where trust comes in. And when we get to the place where we're willing to trust God, lay everything down, I can't make this different. I can't make it look like I want. So here, God, surrender. You got it. There's an empowerment that comes in that place.
There is.
There's a level of partnering where we are partnering with heaven because we're trusting God to do something we can't see. Faith is believing in something you can't see with your eyes.
Right.
And that's a hard place to be.
Right.
But if we will position ourselves to stand, position ourselves to worship, even when we don't feel like it,
Right.
God receives what we bring. In the story of the loaves and the fishes, and Jesus fed everybody, one of the disciples said, "Here, this kid's got a lunch. That's all we got. Jesus,
Yeah.
that's all we got." And Jesus took it and fed all these people. Bringing our lunch, the all we've got, is an act of worship. And I know, especially when in raising my children, that was huge for me. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing here. And every single time I would simply bring him what I had, he would do something with it. And I've got 4 grown kids that are amazing now. So, and that now I'm in a different place in life. The worship looks a little different. The trust looks a little different. And yet it's been years and years of practice of the laying down and the trust.
And I think the thing about storms is they actually strengthen us. The storms are actually, if we lived a life without the storms of life, we would not be able to learn the resilience. We would not be able to learn and know that we will say yes to God, and that our yes will stay a yes, in the situations. And there's a fortitude, there's a warrior mindset that's grown in that place that does allow you to war with him, but also worship him in all things. Everything in your life becomes an act of worship.
Yes. And there's this aspect of resistance training. Whether you have a storm or not, it is choosing to take what comes and partner with God in it, to be trained for a deeper place with him.
Yeah.
And it is in that deeper place that he imparts to us way beyond our expectation. We can never outgive God. We can never outtrust God.
Exactly.
Because he's so awesome.
He's so awesome. and in that place where he gives and he deposits, you don't always even realize what you've gotten in those moments. And so as the storm dissipates, and as you step into a new season, then you start walking out and you start realizing, oh, wow, I didn't know I had this. I didn't know this piece of wisdom was here. I didn't know this particular understanding had happened, this revelation. I didn't know my faith had gone to a space of the depth of the foundation of what it is that can be built upon, in a different way. So sometimes we don't always know in the moment what happens in that place of worship in the storm, but we do know that he is faithful, and you'll get to unpack that at a later time.
Yes. And we will unpack that at a later time, because it's time to wrap up.
It is. You're right. So thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you being here. We encourage you to check out thewarriorcommission.com. We would love to see you guys, consider to be a part of our time together, our living out of commissions, our growth and our development. So we would love for you guys to join us on our weekly chats every Thursday, and live broadcast. And we also post on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So you guys have a great day, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Enjoy living your warrior commission.